I'm doing
That is,
great.
If you got the same wife, if you got the same wife you have.
Camera's not on yet.
I don't know. I've met you once before, I think. And your wife too, right? Yes. With Chamber still, or? What? Is she with the Chamber still, or? Part-time. Part-time, yeah. Okay. Right. It's good to see you. Hi, guys. How are you doing? Good. I know, that's right.
We already passed that.
I think this is another one.
The storage yard on Central?
Yeah, this is another one.
Oh, that's,
It's on Main, on Coolidge Avenue.
right here.
Down
That's
there
just
where
an
that-
additional
where
graphic
that
to show
junkyard
how
is.
there's, the parking's not gonna be there and give some,
Yeah.
and it asked about. So you can see there's nice clearance right there.
I thought the one that was approved was right across the street here, right on the highway.
No, it was down Coolidge Ave.
Oh, I wasn't here that night. That was when I was in the hospital.
I take it Shane's not coming tonight.
Huh?
I take it Shane's not coming tonight.
It looks that way.
Maybe not.
He comes in late sometimes.
Sometimes. I haven't talked to him, I don't know. Oh, the lawyer's here. Maybe you'll keep me in line?
Hi, Nick.
Probably not. Probably not. I have a legal question tonight too, so that'll be good. I'm glad you're here. I have a legal question. Well, you'll have to look it up. Be the source of the source.
All right. You guys ready? All rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everybody. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Director Lopez, roll call.
Mr. Chair. Let's see, Commissioner Bullen,
Present.
Commissioner Leonard.
Present.
Let's see, Commissioner Metcalf. Present. Commissioner Duran.
Present.
Commissioner Bacon.
Present.
And let's see, Commissioner Rosalinda Federico, she hasn't been here for a while. And Chairman Ray Halby.
Present.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
All right. First order of business, approval of minutes from December 7th.
Mr. Chairman, our media system went down and we couldn't access the minutes from the actual video during the weekends when I do them, and so I couldn't get to them until they fixed it. It was an IBM issue, so I blame it on that big giant corporation because they're the ones that do our we have a contract with them for the video, and it wasn't up and running until they finally got it fixed. I think this morning or late yesterday. So we'll bring it back to you the next meeting.
Okay,
I want to make sure they're correct because we had a lot of information there. So
very good.
okay, thank you.
All right. Gentlemen, all good with that?
Yeah.
All right. On to new business. First order of business, Cool PZ 221242. Conditional use permit application submitted by Jeffrey Winter of Excentia Architects on behalf of Brent Erickson for TJ Fuels at Shope's IGA grocery store for a new 4,240 square foot retail fuel island and overhead canopy in the general business C2 zoning district situated just south of the main grocery store building as located at 1940 South Arizona Boulevard. Rick Lopez.
Chairman, Commissioners, This is an exciting project that we have happening downtown, down south, downtown too, but down south, which is the fuel island. We have nothing on that side of town as far as the fuel when you're leaving town going south towards Tucson or something. It's a good place to be able to pull over, fuel up, and keep going instead of turning around and coming back to the other portion of town. And also, this is strictly a conditional use permit, so we look at whether or not it's allowed or not. And fueling stations under C2 require conditional use, so that's why they're here. It's a minor addition to a building that's already there, so the site plan will be a minor site plan. We'll handle it internally, so this is strictly the conditional use that you look at, okay? And I think Phil's got a presentation for you, and then we'll have, yes.
Just one question real quick. In here, it's talking about a convenience store, food stores with gas pumps. That is not a convenience store, it's a grocery store. Is there a difference there as far as the code goes? Because everything that's mentioned in here is convenience food stores with gas pumps, and this is not the same thing.
That is the literal definition underneath of that section of the conditional use permit, so that's why it's called out as that. And this was the most appropriate use that could be assigned to it within this district under the conditional use permitted.
Commissioner Boland, you're right. It is a grocery store, but it's just a matter of semantics of the word. It's not. It's bigger than a convenience store, a typical one like a Circle K.
I just want to make sure that we're not doing something saying that. I don't see a reason why a grocery store couldn't have fuel pumps. They do all over the state.
Absolutely.
So there's no reason not, but our code is calling it a convenience food store. And I'm hoping that's not, the code should really clearly state gas pumps with a store, convenience or otherwise, should be allowable.
Yeah.
Generally,
the way we look at these, it doesn't list a gas pumps as an allowed use under the C2 zoning, so that's why the only place that addresses it is in the conditional uses. So that's why we go to that section. We could look at adding the word, / grocery store, but we have them at Safeway, in front of Safeway, and then we had them at Walmart before, but they took them out where those semis park.
It's not an issue to me that they're doing it. It's an issue to me that it doesn't. The way it reads, it's not conforming to what we're doing particularly. And that concerns me that somebody is not going to come up and say, hey, you put that in a convenience, you call it a convenience store and it's not. It's very convenient, but it's not known as a convenience store. It is a grocery store.
Well, and the whole purpose of the hearing and us talking is to clarify that it is a grocery store and will have fuel pumps. So I think and for the record, it'll be clear and the minutes will show it. And then the video. So anybody questioning that?
Okay.
Legal counsel here.
And just touching on that, as Gilbert said, that's just how our code differentiates it. That's the only way for it to be permitted is, that's what it's defined. And I think your point is noted, staff should look into whether or not that's the definition of it, and if it should be evaluated to change in the future. But it's been vetted through our office, and we're confident that this is the way to move forward.
Okay, that's what I was curious about.
Oh, you're good. Oh, and like Nick might also say, procedurally wise, so that it was accurately conveyed throughout the staff report, but it's also noted within the resolution that will be completed tonight if this be approved. So that's the other reasons too. Okay, back to the show, some basic stuff here. This is our usual general plan exhibit. As you can see, it is in the downtown core, adjacent to some other general core areas, but also in close proximity to the urban neighborhood, which was part of some of the discussions we had with the applicant and Chip concerning the location and how the site plan has come to be. On the zoning exhibit, you can see that we are in the C2 zone here. It's again surrounded by some residential, the obvious ever-present commercial areas adjacent to it, a little bit across the street, aside from the mobile home park. These are some photographs that were taken by the applicant that I took the opportunity to show the site, label the three photographs as A, B, and C, looking towards the approximate location right here. Best as I could describe, site looking southwest towards 6th Street from Arizona Boulevard. As you can see, the open area right now, some of the existing asphalt, the open gravel area that will be improved quite substantially from this point forward to the property. The B view, looking directly with your back to Florence Avenue down this direction or west from Arizona Boulevard, once again at this location. And then the C location, reverse, looking back this direction, northwest near 6th Street with our back to it towards Arizona Boulevard. So that gives you an idea of what the existing site looks like. And this is the site plan. Now, this is the canopy area here. These are the underground gas pumps. These areas here will be improved concrete driveways. We asked them in our discussions with them from where the original proposal was supposed to be in this location. I'll explain a few things about that. We asked them to make consideration for proper retention, landscaping, DG ground cover, things of that nature. They had provided me a total count of the trees and shrubs, I forget, what was it, 20 and 50 of each? Okay, 20 trees, 50 shrubs is the total that we would also review in a more formal landscape review when we get to that point. So you can see here the area dotted inside of the red is the zoom in area that I'm about to go to next. So here we are zooming in on that. Now, let me touch something on here really quick. On the printouts that we had, and even when you're looking at it on a computer, it's a little hard to see that that's kind of a grayscale up there. What's that supposed to represent is that what's not going to be there. So the extra graphic that I gave you, gentlemen, was to show this just as a white unencumbered area here and provide some distancing from the canopy to the sidewalk, but then also the greatest distance from the gas pump island here all the way to the wall. And also just, once again, note what are all these areas here? Well, this is going to be improved concrete here. So basically the idea is you come in through here, you gas up, you turn around, come here, get a nice view of some landscaping, some retention here, turn back around, or better yet, go park and shop, since we have certain members in the audience. So let's see here. And they gave us some really nice exhibits here. There's 4 of them, and they're pretty much the same thing, looking north, south, east, west. This way you can see we're kind of looking bisected. Cars would pull in this way, so you'd see your Camaro if I had a choice right here. We asked them to provide texture and design and color that would match the building, and they did do that. We're really happy. They did a great job. Oops, sorry about that. They did a great job in helping us out with that. And here's just the long view of it, where you can see the 6 pump islands in 3 different bays, or well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah. So let's see here. That's the basic nuts and bolts. The applicant is here. The architect who prepared these plan sets that we worked with very closely is also here. So for the time being, that is our presentation, and if the chair would be willing to have the applicant stand up and maybe add some additional words that I might not have said, then we'll move on with that part.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you.
Can the applicant come to the podium, please? Please state your name and your
Chairman,
address.
Councilman, my name is Jeff Winter with Ascension Architecture. The address is 1743 East McNair Drive, Suite 200, Tempe, Arizona. We're the architect representing the owner here on this, and we have worked with the city to develop that small fuel offering for this location, and worked with staff to try to get the right mixture of circulation as well as aesthetics to present the quality project for you. So that's kind of nothing additional to say except for
Ken?
Mr. Chairman, I have about a couple. The surface of this area is going to be concrete?
it'd be asphalt.
Oh, it'll be asphalt, it won't be concrete,
But
it'll
it'll
be
be,
asphalt.
well, you'll have some concrete at the fuel pumps and the island or the tanks. but the rest will probably be an asphalt to match existing.
So it's going to be asphalt, not, okay, I was understand it was going to be concrete.
On their original plan sets, they had labeled concrete out in front of it, so if they change some of the material as they work with our departments. So.
And that's fine, I mean, asphalt, concrete. On the south side of this, where these angular lines are these angular lines, is that going to be a border of concrete, or is it just going to be the edge of the asphalt like it currently exists along that south edge of the parking lot?
We will have, it will probably be a mixture of the two. Edge of asphalt it's showing, we may have some control for a vertical curb, either vehicle control or water control to allow the water to flow in the direction we need it to flow. Typically, it will fall to the curb and then head the direction we need to go, which is to the west, rear of the property. So I would suspect that it's going to be both.
There is an area at the east side south that is showing to be, it's going to be gravel or granite. I believe it says 1 inch, but I believe 2 inches the minimum required in the city to have. Is that current area has been used for parking for the adjacent bar for the last 40 or 50 years. And they are going to have a major issue with parking, not having that there. And I know it belongs to the new owner. And I know that the past owner had a lease with them for several years and it expired. Is that going to be an issue for people to be parking on that? Or are you going to are you going to put a fence between the property and the property to the south? What is the plan there?
Well, currently there is a fence that comes up to the Arizona Avenue, not the entire way, but a portion of the south property line. Our owner has reached out to that owner of that bar and is waiting for a response and continues to try to work with him and understand what his needs are or what the agreement was. I don't believe it's in place anymore, but our owner is working with them or trying to work with them. Currently, we do not offer or anticipate parking to be on our parcel until that agreement is made
Right.
at some future date.
Gilbert, would it be possible for them to use something similar to quarter minus or some other small rock instead of granite, so that if they determined and made a deal with the Warmans that own Galvin Goose, that they could have parking on that if a contract was made up between them? The granite's very poor to park on, it just dissolves.
Yes, Commissioner Bullen, yes, we've thought of that. If they work that out, and that's the agreement between the two private parties.
Right.
We shall work with them to make sure it's an impervious surface that meet the code requirements.
Okay.
And so, yeah, we thought of that, and they're aware, they're trying to reach out to Worman, but I don't believe they've been successful in getting a hold of them. But that's, it's, that parking has been grandfathered in for a long time. So we're trying to upgrade, of course, make it better. And so is the applicant, trying to make it look nice. So we'll work with them to make sure it's criteria.
And Mr. Cook, is there any problem, or could there be a problem with eminent domain on that property since it's been used as parking for that bar for more than 50 years, with and without a lease?
That's two issues that are private issues. That's not really the city's concern. It's not city property.
Okay.
As Gilbert said, if the applicant and the neighboring property owner do come to some, they do decide at a future date that they want it to be parking, obviously the city standards would then kick in and it needs to meet certain requirements. But
Okay.
from our perspective, no.
All right. I just want to make sure that we're not getting into anything here that's going to bite us. The retention basin to the rear that is currently dirt, you are showing that it's going to also have screened rock, decomposed granite probably. Again, it'll be 2 inches thick per city code. Is anything going to be done about the retention basin to the rear of the building on the west side that is currently just dirt? Is that also going to be cleaned up and beautified as a retention basin?
At this point, we are proposing not to address that. It is a retention basin now. It can be graded to get the weeds up and get control of the weeds. But at this point, we are not proposing that. We were trying to stay basically on the south part of our parcel to be in proportional to the scope of our project.
Is there going to be a change in depth? Are you going to leave it flat, or are you going to dig a pit? Is there going to be a real basin in there, or no?
The southern retention basin probably will be dug out to handle the water that will be coming its way. It will be for the civil engineer to evaluate the entire site's needs and whether we need to deepen the northern retention basin or not.
Gilbert, will that be looked at by the city Public Works Department, that we have the proper retention size for the amount of ground we're covering?
Yes. Yeah, it will be. And right now, the one we're most concerned with is where the impact is to the south.
Right.
But we can look at the whole thing. Everything to the north isn't being touched, so except for adding some landscaping. So our concern would be really to the south. We're trying to be as, helping them put this in, but not overly, create obstacles to have them open this.
I'm not trying to call obstacles, but we have a code that the water has to stay on the property.
Right.
And the retention basin has to be big enough to hold the water that's on the property, at least on the property that we're doing, maybe not the entire 350 some feet of frontage we have, but at least the property that's going to be the gas station, where that will be retained in that area. So, because right now there's puddles over there now, just because rain that happened 2 weeks ago won't dry up. And so I want to make sure that we are going to have whatever our Public Works Department determines is necessary for the retention of water in the, I don't know if this is 100 feet wide or roughly,
Right.
and
Yeah, that's it.
500 feet deep,
Yeah, that'll be covered.
617 feet deep.
Yeah, that'll be covered in the site plan portion of it, where we'll look at that and what depth's required to handle that 100-year storm in that retention basin. So that's how it's calculated.
Yeah.
So
I mean, because, again, if we have gas spills, which probably will happen, unfortunately, we want to make sure that doesn't get into the groundwater system somehow.
No, and it's no different than the Circle Ks, the
Right.
Speedway. It's the same thing. This is strictly to handle the flow from the parking.
Right, except the Circle Ks were built 50 years ago, 40 years ago, and they don't have the same code restrictions that we have now.
Well, the Walgreens over by the one by Walgreens is pretty new.
Yes,
and,
right.
And so they have to meet all the different.
And they have a retention basin.
Yeah, and so they'll have one here. So that'll be.
Okay.
We'll look at that.
Right, I'm just trying to make sure we're covering all the details.
Yeah, and that's our job in the site plan part of it. So we will cover it.
Okay. So asphalt rather than concrete, which makes sense. Concrete's very expensive, I can tell you for a fact. I'm pouring 2,100 yards of it.
Then you will know.
So I
real
know.
quick.
Mr. Chairman, I think that's all my questions.
Nope.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing? Yep. This is a public hearing, so if anybody'd like to speak about this,
Yeah, and we sent out notices to everybody within 300 feet. I think it is, right?
Yes.
And it was advertised.
In the newspaper.
Yeah, in the newspapers, so it can be anybody.
okay? If anybody within 300 feet of this project would like to come up and speak, please come to the podium. No takers. All right, at this time, we'll close the public hearing. And we'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve Cool PZ. Let's see,
221242.
2301?
No.
No?
221242. Sorry.
Cool PZ 22-12-42, conditional use permit application as presented.
And resolution 2301.
Yes.
Oh. And resolution 23-01.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Great.
Next item on the agenda, Cool PZ 221034, a conditional use permit application submitted by Homero Murillo of Murillo's Grading for contract storage yard in the general business C zoning district as located at 120 West Coolidge Avenue. Director Lopez?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, this is if you remember, this was a site that was used by Hendricks for a recycling automotive yard that we had problems with across the street. So this was where the weigh station was. And if you recall, years ago, somebody came in industrial 2 and rezoned it for an actual restaurant. And we were like, what? A restaurant in here, behind a big giant wall and all that? And they go, yeah. So we went ahead and did it. We approved it, but the restaurant never came through. So it was C2. And then if you recall, we had some uses that we thought a contractor storage yard. So we added it to the C2 category in order to allow a use like this to be here. So this is the conditional use portion of it where, they want to use it for contractor storage yard. And the applicants are here. We've worked with them. They've worked with us quite a bit. And he's done everything we've asked him to. And so we're supportive of this project. It's really built for this. It's got the wall, that's 8 foot tall around it. And it's already got concrete in there. They covered up the weigh station. So they have a little, so they'll put some landscaping up front and just fix it up, paint it. It's really all that's needed. There isn't much else. So we'll do the site plan. So again, this is just approving the conditional use to allow it. We haven't had any comments. And Phil, you haven't had any comments, have you?
We did have one inquiry from a neighbor. I believe this address, it's in the report. I called back and left a message detailing what it was about, but I didn't receive a call back. So that was the only inquiry we had.
And usually we get calls on, what did I do wrong? Why do I get a letter? And so we explain to them what it is, and they're okay with it usually. But the applicant's here if you have any questions for him. And Phil can go through his
It's
round.
real straightforward, same thing, downtown core, surrounded by downtown core for the land use. Zoning is, of course, the C2, surrounded by the I2s, a little bit of residential to the north there, the R3. 3 photos. Here's our A, B, and C, basically looking in on the site, northwest from the intersection of Coolidge Avenue. So we got our A here, B looking back here. This is the main access gate here. That's the alley behind it. And then our C view here, standing in the middle of Coolidge Avenue, hopefully not getting run over, looking back northeast from Coolidge Avenue to the towards First Street. And there's some nice Palo Verdes there you can see. Real basic site plan, 6-foot walls all the way around it. There's the existing zoning, I2 on every side except for I3, the C2 zoning itself. Here's the main gate. This is the primary access. There is a gate down here, but that is not used for ingress egress, as street improvements have been made in front of that since that gate was used years ago. This is the general compound. There's existing structures here, which is just basically covers for parking, putting materials underneath of it. The site plan that we had received from the applicant basically kind of detailed what might be a new office here. Then the general compound. It is a grading operation. In my conversations with Mr. Murillo, he had said that outside of equipment, our fire chief had a question about what chemicals might be on site. And the only thing that he said will be there is occasionally when he changes the oil for his vehicles and maybe some spent dirt, since it is a grading operation. But there's usually someone that is scheduled to come and pick up that spent dirt. So that'll be going off-site in short time after it comes onto the site for the staging of his business operations. So that's the basic straightforwardness. The applicant is here, so if the chair would have the applicant, thing that maybe I didn't say, or whichever step we'd like to go next, I'm ready for that.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.
Will the applicant come to the podium, please?
Good evening. My name is Omar Murillo, and our property is 120 West Coolidge Avenue. And like I said, it's our yard for our equipment, basically, to store all our machines and stuff like that. Now, I think I did notice something that walls are actually 8 foot, not 6 foot. They are? So the other,
Yeah, I thought it was just short, but I think it's 8 foot, and it's good because it's been that way. You're allowed to, it's been existing when it was I2, so it's basically it's actually better because it prevents the sound from going out. But there's no working there except picking up equipment and then going on the field. You may have an office there in the future for people call, do his billings, but usually all your staff leaves and goes to the work site. Correct?
yeah.
Yeah. So
you're not going to ask him to cut 2 feet off his wall?
no, I'm happy it's 8 foot
I'm
tall.
glad to hear that.
That's my bad. I'm so tall, everything looks short to me.
Yes, that's your fault. I agree. Mr. Chairman, may I?
Sir?
Will you be doing repair work at the site on your equipment?
Repair on the equipment, occasionally, but usually, small stuff, whatever.
Well, my question is regarding noise. You have people living behind you or north of you, a few people living north of you. There's nobody to the west, there's nobody to the east, and there's nobody to the south at this point. I'm just wondering if there's going to be a lot of noise coming and going. You're running heavy equipment, big dump trucks and graders and things like that in your business?
Yes.
Okay.
Dump truck, yes, but like I said, just turn it on early morning.
Take off. Okay.
Graders, they're usually on their trailers, so if by any, reason we need to unload or, turn them on a
Okay.
little bit.
All right. That would be my big question, is noise pollution, because that's going to be what the neighbors would be most likely to complain about. I mean, that has always been an industrial area for the last, I don't know, 30 or 40 years, long time. So it's a good use for the property. So, okay, that's my only question.
I see an existing trailer on there. There's nobody living on that lot, correct?
No, it's an RV, so it's goes in and out.
But nobody stays there.
This moment, no.
Will there be?
No. It's an RV. It's, hook it up to a truck, go on trips and stuff like that.
Okay.
The zoning does have an allowance for a guard or some sort of person to take care of it, but it can't be in an RV. It can be in the office space that has but the RV can only be stored there. It really shouldn't be lived in. We like all the businesses we look, and if we see somebody in there, we'll tell them, hey, you can't do that. So we'll keep an eye.
What is the zoning on that property?
C2.
C2.
It's C2?
Yeah, with the allowance of a conditional use for contractor storage yard specifically.
Okay, all right. I didn't know if it was C2 or C3, and that's what I was asking.
No, C2 is what they went for because of the restaurant, because it reduced the setback to the residential.
Sure.
That's why they went that route, because they could have done it on I2, but it would have required 45 feet, I believe, from the residential, which they didn't want to. They should have left it I2 because it would have made it easier for this. So.
That was a previous owner, it wasn't us.
It wasn't his fault.
It honestly, it threw me for a loop because I thought we'd had had approved this already.
Mr. Chair, yeah, we approved this to allow the C2 to add it in
Right.
into the,
Right.
the conditional use into C2. And then we made the application to come up. And then because of the holidays and everything, so many things coming up, then we finally got a hold and got everything turned in. So we just worked them in.
All right. Any other questions? No?
Glad to see somebody's doing something on that corner down there.
All right, thank you. This also is a public hearing. So at this time, we'll open it to the public. Anybody like to speak? Please come to the podium. No? All right, at this time, we'll close the public hearing and we'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve Cool PZ 22-10-34 and Resolution 2302.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Congratulations, gentlemen. All right. Reports from the director.
Turn that mic on. Thank you all. Happy New Year. Just real quick, we have some updated stats on our population from CAG. Rick sent me a text because he was talking to the Central Arizona Association of Governments. That's where we get our population estimates. But as of July 1st, it looks like, according to CAG, we had 15,984 people in the city. So round out about 16,000.
15.9?
Yeah, 15,984, according to Central Arizona Association of Governments as of July 1st, I believe. So we probably have a little more than that, the houses that we've added. Permit-wise, we're a little less than last year, of course, because things have slowed down, but not fallen off a cliff. Our building permit numbers were 918 total of everything, okay? And then our single-family permits were 377 plus one duplex, so almost 400, which is pretty good. Last year we had 600 and something, so almost 700, and it was at the busiest time. And then total construction value was $146 million, so pretty good. And as we go forward and we add some of these solar facilities, they come in, they're pretty big, so that tends to drive the number up. We've got some that we're going to start construction on pretty quick, actually 3 of them. It'll be Orsted, which is Lemma Corner Solar. That's going to start, they're in design review right now and everything. It's a site plan, right? The site plan Orsted is in site plan review. All the zoning's in place. It's just finishing the site plan. And then we have, Vail hasn't started, but they will probably towards the summer when their plans come in for all that. That's called Brittlebush. That's the one we approved the last time. And then Story Solar is starts construction. The plans are reviewed. Some of that looks like it's being built. There's a big giant transformer that belongs to SRP. That's covered under the Arizona Corporation Commission, so we don't inspect that, even though we do special inspection on anything that's not covered by the ACC. So those projects are under construction. So we have quite a bit of industrial, and we have a lot of interest at iPads. Of course, our big one is Procter & Gamble. We're moving forward. We're working on their construction yard, their setup yard, and they're working on their civils, and they're working on their architectural plans. So as soon as they get their civils up, we'll issue them at-risk grading permits. They can start moving dirt. We're meeting with about 17 of their staff members this next couple weeks. So just to talk about where we are with everything and make sure everything's moving forward. So we're moving pretty fast on that one. And then we have other projects we're working on that are in process of some sort under non-disclosure agreements, and they're in different. So there's quite a bit of activity. There's a lot. It's keeping us, the industrial is keeping us hopping pretty heavily. Yes, sir.
How's the motel coming?
Motel's doing good. We've got, thank you for reminding me, we're about ready to issue the grading and drainage and at-risk permit to move dirt. And their civils are in review by Stantec. I think we've got a couple comments. I got them in touch with Arizona Water. They're working with Andy Haas and those guys in Phoenix on the connections and everything else. So if they need help with the turn-ins and everything with ADOT, we already went and talked to ADOT in Tucson, so we can and do that to help with that process. So it's moving good, moving well. It just any time now we'll issue the grading permits, and I don't have anything yet on except an email that says they're coming on the Burger King. So it's there, you know, and they said they're still coming. They just have to work out. You know, and I reminded them the hotel's going to start construction pretty quick and start moving dirt. So they're like, oh, you know, we're still going. We just haven't gotten to that point yet. I said your permits are ready up front to be picked up. So please hurry up. They're going to expire and you have to renew them.
How about the gin?
The gin on my corner?
Yeah.
We're working with that gentleman to put the agricultural part of it, the back, the alfalfa hay. Remember he had some big pole barns back there? He wants to start that first, and we told him he could, you know, as long as he could adhere to whatever the PAD requirements are. So we're working with him on that.
Perfect.
And so hopefully we'll get something going, because it was for sale for a little bit, and then he decided to just move into that back part himself and move his business here, which we think is good. Then he said he can work on the gin as he goes and try to fix it up, which is fine with us. We'd rather see that than have it be sold.
Right.
So I think that's, yeah. And I will, I'm working on an update for all the different projects and where they are that I'll pass out to you guys probably before the next meeting. Because I'll usually give it to Rick and the council, and then you guys will get a copy of that too. Just list where different things are. Nicola, Procter & Gamble. You know, we have a facility down Lemma Corner that they're building greenhouses on. That was about 16 million, and that's under construction. So there's a lot of things happening. Pretty good. Keeps us busy. Keeps us out of trouble. And then we have Nick to help us out.
Nick keeps you out of trouble.
That's it. Yes, Mr. Chair, and also we have, the applicants are waiting to sign documents for the
Okay.
resolutions, so as soon as we're done, we'll sign these so they can we're done. and
Perfect.
record them.
All right. So with that, let's do our call to the public. This is a public forum. Please, anybody want to speak? Now's your time to speak. No takers. Gosh, we need to put donuts or something up there. All right. At this moment, we'll make a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
All in favor?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you all. We're off to a great start in 23.
Get 'em.
I just want 22 back.
It was a brutal year.